In this world, there is still much mystery and darkness to explore, with only the moon to light our pathways. So let's join hands and begin the journey together. Welcome to Mystic Moon Cafe.
You're listening to Mystic Moon Cafe. The views and opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the network, or our sponsors.
Hey gang, welcome to Mystic Moon Cafe. And tonight we've got a great show with our guest Spencer Stander, aka GM Macleods. And we're going to talk all about his career in reality TV, movies, all that Hollywood scene, as well as his encounters with the paranormal in an aquatic type environment, which is not something we normally hit on here, folks. And then we're going to cap off the night with role-playing games, because like I said, he is the super celebrity GM Macleods. And with that, Spencer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm looking forward to seeing your closet, Jake. I hear you have some RPGs in the closet.
I have got about 20 boxes full of RPGs. I am a collector. Mind you, some people will look at me like, because I'm not a D&D guy. I do have D&D 5th edition.
You know what? Role-playing is for everybody. That's
true. That's true. And I got to say, the last time I played Dungeons and Dragons, as we nerd out here, I was doing probably, what do you call it, back in the 80s where they had the teal covered books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was
such great artwork.
Yeah. So it was like middle school. It was all paperback stuff. It was definitely something like me as a 13-year-old would do with pen and paper. And I always like to play a half-elf thief.
I know that character type well.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm short, so there you go.
I would have taken you for like a more Tomb Raider-y type of thief. I guess the half-elf would fit that. So,
well, you know, because I always liked my horror, and I always had to do, because Ravensloft was around at the time. Or Ravenloft. Was it Ravensloft or Ravenloft?
Ravenloft, yeah.
And so those sons of bitches, the whites, always taking you down a level with a strike. So I made sure I could negate some of the damage.
When Jake says whites, he's talking about there's a monster that's called a white.
WIGHT people.
Those damn whites. Yeah. Damn whites taking you down.
And if I wasn't playing a thief, I was usually a magic user. Magic user.
Yeah, I could see that. Conjuring magic. You know, they currently have classes like the Mystic that I think you would really enjoy. There's some pretty cool stuff that would fit right in with your ghost hunting.
I mean, it depends on the edition. I mean, we'll get to paranormal here, people, and we know what you're doing with paranormal.
But this is kind of paranormal.
Ancient aliens.
This is that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gotta say, with some of the other editions, like I've seen Sorcerer, I've seen Illusionist, I've seen Bard, I've seen now the thing that kind of threw me off is the orcs, half orcs being character classes or character races, and I'm just like, wait, when there was like 6.
Opening it up.
Is playing, I'm down with that.
Open up a whole can of worms there.
I mean, totally.
RPGs are totally fun, and people, whether they recognize or not, improv theater is role playing. Role playing is, at work. I get hired sometimes to come in and do some role playing, and so it really does transcend everybody's life, whether you realize it or not. I mean, people are role playing on your favorite TV show. I mean, you call it acting, I call it role playing. Method acting is exactly role playing. So most of your good actors follow method. Anyway, we were here talking about something a little bit different. I'm glad we covered that topic. So if you want to check more of that out, you can go to RPG All Stars on YouTube. That's our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. We could use the help. And people come to us and they ask us to review games and stuff like that. And so the more subscribers we have, the better those offers become. Because the last one I had was to do a video for $150. I'm like, wait a minute, I have to learn a game, film it, edit it, and put it up for $150. This is not worth my time. But if we have more subs, it could we could double to 300, and then it might be worth my time. I'm just kidding.
Plug.
Yeah, RPG All Stars.
But let's step back, Spencer. Okay, so full disclosure, Spencer and I worked on some projects at this big old tech company I work for. That's how we met. And he taught me a couple things about audio engineering and podcasting and all that good stuff. Also, shout out to JK if he's watching. Jonathan Keith, if you're watching.
Oh, yeah, JK.
Yeah. But Spencer, so we have this young man that went to the Ohio State University and studied cinematography. Now, how does a Midwestern boy get from OSU out to Los Angeles and doing this crazy TV thing?
That if somebody, actually, I am coaching a friend's kid who's at OSU and he wants to be a writer in film. So I didn't have that advantage of knowing anyone in Hollywood. And so it was a rough truck ride out. And, you know, I just sort of made my ends as the best I could. It was a meandering mess, if I could say that. And I just became super friendly and let people know what I was up to. Hey, I wanted to be in TV and film. And so eventually that landed me a job at Entertainment Television, where I got to record audio, run camera. I did E! News Daily set stuff. I was all over the place with them, and eventually their music supervisor. And so that just launched my career. And I was at Sony for a while. I was at Warner Brothers for a decade, and then went out on my own to do reality television. Along that journey, I have done a few paranormal shows, pilots, and stuff that has aired. And those are always fun for me. I, at a young age, was always attracted to the paranormal and the more interesting things beyond what we see as the veil of life, or as the Buddhists would say, the Maya, the great illusion, right? They have a term for this. It's the great illusion out there. And there are things beyond it that we don't understand. Everyday things that we should understand, they're too complex. We don't understand. So to say there's nothing going on that would be classified as paranormal is being a little silly. So I've always been open to that, if that makes sense. I went from OSU right into paranormal. That's the show. So Ohio State, there wasn't a lot going on at Ohio State. I think I made one film. It was with my friend Dave Johnson back then, and David became known for his work with Shawshank Redemption and Frank Darabont, which was shot in my hometown, Mansfield, Ohio. And then David came out and he worked with Frank on everything. He just wrote Aquaman, the movie. Okay. I mean, the guy's just blown up. He was on the D&D movie for a little bit. And we haven't talked a whole lot since he's been out here, but, you know, for example, if you are in Ohio and you're listening, because I have a lot of friends in Ohio, there are opportunities that get you right into Hollywood. And that's a great example of one. You know, you don't have to be I'm going to Hollywood and I don't know anybody. Actually, I came out here to be in bands. Does that make sense? I was going to rock and roll.
Music videos, maybe?
Cinema was a backup career, man. It was a backup, and it just turned out to be the full-time. So yeah, man, that's Ohio.
Okay. So my question for you now is you get on the set of these paranormal shows. So I'm assuming you're the video shooter.
My favorite is Ghostly Lovers, aired on Travel Channel before they actually went ghostly.
Okay.
Entirely. Yeah.
Before, when they actually were about travel.
Yeah, they had travel content. Yeah.
Kind of like MTV used to have music on it, folks, right? Mm-hmm. But now it's going to have RuPaul's Drag Race on it. So that's
exciting.
Which I actually am a huge RuPaul fan. I watch all of them.
Oh, yeah.
But you get to the set of the paranormal shows. Okay.
Yep.
How much? Let's get deep tea. We want the deep dark tea.
They always like tea.
How much of those shows was production, and how much of it was paranormal investigation research?
Yeah. No. So a friend of mine was one of the guys that show ran my show, Paranormal Divers, which was the name before it was called Mysteries of the Deep. And we can talk about this in more detail in the future. Rob was the showrunner of season 1 to 8 for Ghost Hunters. Season 1 to 8. So that was a significant amount of time with them. Mm-hmm. And So you got to get the seriousness of this, because I do feel like some ghost shows just, make it for the film, right? So I learned a good lesson with Rob. The audience needs it authentic. Like you guys that love, gals and guys that love this paranormal content, you want it authentic. You want it, even if nothing happens, I'd rather have it authentic than not, basically. That's my motto. And so Rob taught me this, and he said there was a new field producer on Ghost Hunters, like season 5 or 6. It was in there. And they had, you know what it was? It was earlier than that. It was the chair that moved. And I forget exactly what episode, but they filmed a chair and it actually frickin' moved.
Oh, wow.
But they filmed it for like 8 hours, right? And there was no wind in the room or any of that kind of stuff, but the chair actually moves. I wish I had a clip to play you. Sorry, I didn't prepare this.
Oh, no, we can hunt it down. If someone's got Discovery Plus, we'll find it.
So my point being that Rob filmed that chair, I believe it was 8 hours, but it might have been 12 hours to get the chair to move. So that's how serious they take it. And so they had a field producer in like season 5 or down the line who threw a nickel in the corner of the room to get a reaction out of the crew, out of the ghost hunters. And everybody turned, and like it was a big move, and he got fired right then.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I've heard that. So I've had deep tea from other people that have worked on the shows. And they have said the ghost hunts themselves are
100%.
100%. Now everything around that can be staged and produced, but the actual ghost hunts themselves. But I got to tell you, with a lot of the gadgets that are used on the shows that are so super sensitive, I'm not saying they're not doing what they're doing, but they're so sensitive. It could be the gnat flying off that sets off the vibration alert, kind of thing. But I have heard that about them. It seems, I will say, with more recent, let's just say it seems like the Ghost Adventures crew is a little bit in on what's expected.
And it Zach and those guys came from, is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ghost Adventures. You have to remember, the way they got their start was a movie on Sci-Fi Channel about ghost hunters.
Yeah. And they weren't really ghost hunters. They were like 3 dorks that went out to this old ghost town and Zach's a personality. I don't think it's takenly as, I don't think that shows as authentic as others. I've known a few. I've had shows with a few of their surrounding characters, not Zach himself, but so I've heard things about it. So the shows run the gamut from very authentic to not. Now, the other thing that I've noticed, and this is, I would say, probably in the past 5 years with ghost hunting shows, there's this new person on staff called the story producer, which I hadn't seen before. Are they stitching things together to make a narrative on site, or
came closer? Man. Story producers, that's something that I do. I film for story. Actually talking to a production about it. So story producers are kind of like, I am a terrific editor and have a deep background with editing coming out of audio and then into video, which makes a great editor. By the way, if you're ever looking to edit, having that foundation of audio coming into editing makes you such a better editor. So that's number one. Number two, the story producer is the producer that grabs this. It makes a story. They're the writer in reality television. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is because since it's unscripted. Well, there's certain parts that are, I would say, the more staged elements, like the interviews with the witnesses or the backstory. But so the story editor, are they like writing a sequence or an outline, or as things come in, they're cutting to say, oh, this might be a good nugget to base the episode on? Yeah,
not all of them, but some of them terrible editors, but can string out the story and then just give it to an editor to clean it up, right? I mean, that's
gotcha.
Story is key in that, even for ghost hunting shows, because you do have the integration of the what's being said in an interview and what's happening in the field. And if you've got 12 hours on a chair, somebody needs to go through that and figure out what works about it and why. So that's what they're plugging in, right?
Okay, so they're pretty much the big picture that can find something that they make the cohesion out of the mess of the onslaught of footage.
And believe it or not, that's happened to me on films and all sorts of stuff. It helps to be a puzzle genius when it comes to editing, just seeing having all those different ideas, all those different happenings, what's being said, and just having it come together in your head so you can kind of piece it together real quick is an amazing talent. And so that's the story producer in reality. But I do think it goes for scripted too, because a lot of scripted, is meant to be shot like it is. But then Star Wars, for example, they rearranged the original Star Wars to be what it is in post. I mean, that is a story producer, right? They just don't have a title for it. They just call it editor. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's get a little bit before the ghost shows, because you've pitched a lot of these paranormal shows. Doesn't have to be a ghost hunting show. Doesn't have to be a cryptid. Doesn't have to be aliens. But how does one get in front of the right people with the idea?
Well, it's a mature industry at this point. And by that, I mean, you'll notice, you're in the tech world. So in the beginning of tech, there were all these small companies, and they get, bought by a larger entity, and it becomes consolidated. So that's what I mean by it's a consolidated industry. Reality shops came out. They've all been bought into the 3 largest entities, basically. And then you have shops like mine, which is a very small mom and pop shop, which we love you if you want to come to us with your reality ideas. I have terrific relationships at a ton of places, not everywhere, but a ton of places like travel, like A&E, Lifetime, these types of ends. So I am interested in hearing about what, people have with reality. But the fact is the industry is pretty old. It's mature. It's consolidated. So getting a reality show off today is very different than it used to be, where, you're sitting at a barbecue and you say, hey, why don't we do a show about weight loss? And the head of NBC, Ben, says, that's a great idea. We'll have so-and-so write it up on Monday. And then it becomes The Biggest Loser. Those days are over. So today it's if you're going to have a ghost show specifically, it's going to have to be about the talent at the center of it, like who is driving it and why. You're going to have to answer that. Why is this different? What are they doing that isn't being done on other shows, and how is it elevated from other shows? And number 2 is, even if you get it to pilot and they air it, it's got to do well with numbers. So are the people in it going to be able to help with numbers? So if Shaquille O'Neal has a, ghost hunting show that takes place in gyms, people are probably going to tune into that, right? I mean, so you have to think about how it's going to be promoted at the network level, because they're not going to put much money behind it to promote it, unfortunately, unless it is the Rock's ghost hunting show. I'd love to see the Rock ghost hunting.
Yeah. So I guess this explains it with a lot of the ghosty shows. It's the same people we've been seeing for the past 10 years with maybe a little spin. Yep. Because they come with a built-in audience. So they know what to expect from. But does that really matter in the age of streaming versus selling commercials on a cable network or broadcast network?
Well, I'm not an expert at everything, but this is just my opinion. Personally, and I just saw TikTok got banned today from the government. Did you see that?
Oh, no, there was a bill that was introduced to ban TikTok because, it's an evil Chinese company. Yeah.
So I've seen really strong builds, influencer builds on TikTok recently for paranormal or whatever you love on TikTok, right? So if somebody's famous on TikTok enough so that sponsors are coming to you, you're doing $100,000 a year just in affiliate links and all this kind of stuff. You don't need a show on television, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the catch-22. And I tell you, if you can do your own independent content and have it rise to the occasion, you're going to be far better off than having a network, because odds are a network will pick you up, give you a pilot. They're going to test you for a year. Like, first of all, they don't have enough money to just buy stuff anymore and just throw it out and see what happens. So they're going to make you develop stuff for easily a year, maybe a year and a half. So sizzle, maybe another sizzle, first act, prove it, then pilot, and then we're going to test it, and then we might pick it up. Like, that's process is really risky. And then, like, for example, with one of my series that I got picked up, they bought 6 episodes, which was great. That's a half season. It's more than I could hope for. And they aired them all, but it didn't fit exactly what they were looking for. So they didn't order anymore. And at the end of the day, if you're just a person in a show and somebody else is producing the show, you're only going to get like maybe 2,500. If you're an EP, maybe $4,000, and that's an appearance fee. Multiply that times 6 in 2 years of your life.
Yeah, and it doesn't pay the mortgage.
No, but if you're an independent and you build up your own content, you're on YouTube and you've got your, like what I'm doing with RPG All Stars. I'm just building. Actually, I built that as kind of I was working with my bigger tech company, and I decided, hey, I'm going to really get into SEO, and I'm going to put the pedal to the metal with something. And I thought, why not just start airing these RPG things? And so that's how RPG All Stars got its beginning. And man, it's been a great learning curve. I think we have 5,200 subscribers. It's great. We'd love to see that get to 500,000. So if you're out there and you want to subscribe, we'd love you for it. But my point to that is that if I can do that, you can do it with your investigations or whatever your dream is when you're producing video content. So I say go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, Merle and I here, we go on the YouTubes and we look at the paranormal shows, which a lot of them are just like, how the hell does anyone watch this stuff? But I will say it's bonkers fun. But I forgot, it's like the two college bros that go to the haunted locations with their lady sidekicks, and they get like 7 million views on the YouTube. I'm just like, that's like more than a year you'd make on a real, like a ghosty show.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
For sure.
They hack the algorithms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you control your own content. I mean, that's like the American dream, right? Like, take the distributor out and just do it yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you still have to deal with the Googles on the YouTubes, and and you're at the mercy of their algorithm.
It's true.
Stuff. But
you can put up a website and put it all there and make it exclusive after a big enough subscriber base. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly. As long as you build the audience and you get enough of them to follow, you're pretty good.
By the way, I should acknowledge we're live on what platform?
Facebook Live.
Facebook Live. So if you're watching on Facebook, hi everybody. And also, I'm sorry I'm not watching Facebook. We had some technical hiccups. It was a miracle we got this hooked up anyway. So I'm not watching Facebook. So if you're commenting somehow there, I'm sorry I'm missing you. But thank you so much for tuning in. It's great to have you aboard, and I wish let's have a phone call soon or whatever.
I was going to say what will happen is Wendy Merle will peruse the comments and ask questions should they come up and everything.
Okay, cool. Yeah, then ask questions since that's going on.
Yeah, but so the whole thing with your idea for Paranormal Divers. Well, let's just step back. I'm curious about this. You were on Ancient Aliens as their dive master.
Yeah, so Kevin Burns is the owner of Prometheus, and Prometheus created a 2-hour special called Ancient Aliens based on a Dave Childress book called Ancient Aliens. And David's on the show. David's great. Love David. And that was such a big hit for History Channel that they ordered 6 more. But the budgets were abysmal. They were like, I think it was like, David told me one time, I literally think it was like $200,000 for a 2-hour. Okay. And since it was a clip show, that's really not a great budget for a half hour. No, that's a decent budget for a half hour. Depending on what network you're going to and what you want it to look like. But for a 2-hour special, that is pretty dramatic. So they requested 6 more, and he made them for the same budget, and eventually got the budget up a little. And so that's how Ancient Aliens got started. And in season, I think 8 or so, the mandate was to take it into the field a little more. So they wanted, because Ancient Aliens is like a clip-driven, interview show, right? And that wasn't getting the ratings anymore. So they wanted to go into the field. So Dave Burns had known about me through another friend, and he said, "Hey, Spencer, I need a scuba diving master. You're a dive master. First of all, can you take care of the guys when they're in the water?" And I was like, "Well, okay, I'm not a safety guy, right?" So they sent a litany of shows they wanted to shoot, and I said, "Well, let's start with this one in Mexico and the cenotes," and it's a really interesting story. So that's how that kind of broke out. And technically, it was supposed to continue, but then it almost immediately, as they were told to go in the field, they were told, Prometheus said, "Hey, we can't do this for the budget." Like being in the field costs a lot of money, and doing research in the field. So the plug was pulled. However, during that time, they found the concept really interesting about having water associated with supernatural and specifically paranormal. And so Carolyn Perez at Destination America and a few other places, they took the show out. They shot a sizzle, took the show out, and it didn't get the traction. And then Kevin thought, "Hey, can we spin this off as another Ancient Aliens?" Which actually he was in the right space, because Gates got Expedition Unknown off, right? And that's basically what that show is what our show should have been. But we had more of a paranormal spin in there. Mm-hmm. So it didn't work the first time out. Second time out, it made it to the president of Travel Channel. The whole staff was really interested, shot an entire other sizzle, called it Mysteries of the Deep. I got my co-host Jamie from Ohio. He's super rad, great scuba diver, very talented, skilled, with physical, he's very physical. So just very skilled dude. And you need that when you're doing crazy shit. So that was good. And it made it all the way up to Kathleen, who's now gone at Travel, but she was the only one that said no. So, I'm one of those Hollywood stories where I was this close to have my own show on twice, and it's something that I'll probably pick up again and push in the relatively near future. I think there's so much, like when you talk about ghosts or paranormal, I don't want to limit it just to paranormal, because I really do enjoy other legends and lores and stuff like that. But there is strange shit that happens around water. I mean, if you're on a boat and you're in the water, there's just weird stuff that happens all the time. And if you're scuba diving, and you're not claustrophobic. If you are claustrophobic, you're screwed. But if you're not, it's a bizarre thing. And especially at night. Night diving is like, just the experience is just silent lucidity. It's the craziest thing. And stuff comes at you from nowhere, and it's just, wow, there's just so much. But the more and more I looked into it, I found things like they used to drown runaway slaves and prisoners off Rhode Island on this one rock. They'd tie them up and wait for the tide to come in to drown them slowly, right? Chains are still there. You want to look for paranormal evidence. Yeah, there's like, okay, wow, let's just see what's going on there, because that's very interesting. And we know lighthouse towers like the St. Augustine Tower. I've been there. I did a small research there when nobody else was there, which was cool. My mom lives near, so drove up one night, and I caught some weird stuff on camera. It was definitely strange. So my theory really comes from a conjunction with right before all that happened with Dave Burns. I was producing Ghostbusters, the video game. I was doing content for the game, and so I was recording with Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd and everybody except Bill Murray. We just couldn't get him tracked down, but we got everybody else. And Dan actually was the one that convinced me that there was a connection between paranormal and water, and that it couldn't exist otherwise without it. And if you want to take it at face value, you go, well, okay, well, there's water in the atmosphere. It's present everywhere. So that's why it could be possible. The way Dan talks about it, it's malevolent energies. It's dark and malevolent energies that we feel and are aware. And he's pretty convinced, just before I move on from him, pretty convinced that you can build a proton pack for about $1 billion, which maybe with the new fission that's out.
I was going to say, we had nuclear fusion the other day.
Yeah.
We made a star.
Yeah, maybe we could make it for cheaper than $1 billion now, Dan.
Yeah.
But he's really fascinating. He's really into quantum physics and all that stuff. Like, here's my finger and I'm touching this mic, but in actuality, my finger is not touching this mic. There's just a bunch of small atoms running around. And if you look inside of them, there's, it's just space. There's nothing physical in there. And they thought there might be mass in the proton, but then they discouraged that. Now that thinking's out so anyway, he's really into this notion of the Buddhist reflection of this. That Buddhism has touted for years, the Maya, the great illusion. I mean, he's very convinced about that. And so it just got me thinking, and that's why he has ectoplasm as a premise in Ghostbusters, because he thinks that you have to have water present to have paranormal. So that opened up my eyes. And when I couldn't find somebody that was specific in that, I thought, well, I'm a scuba diver and I love paranormal. So that's kind of how all that started, right? Mm-hmm. And then I had this tremendous journey with it, which hasn't really ended yet. And it's just been, I don't know. So it's a fun ride. You guys produce a paranormal show.
We do some some documentaries based on our haunts.
And it's fun to be in the field and actually capture something bizarre. Like, once that happens, you're like, I'm hooked. I want to put cameras everywhere and record all the time. That's the thing about it. So you can catch me if I'm rambling, but that's basically how I got in. That's Mysteries of the Deep. I'm going to make a push for it again because I believe in it. Mm-hmm. I think A&E might be a great home for it, and so I know that Ghost Hunters didn't perform that well for them, but this is a different ball game.
Yeah. So the thing that was interesting, I followed the Ghost Hunters on A&E because it was 2 seasons. Yeah. And they got a new programming director that didn't necessarily want that type of programming. And
it wasn't performing well.
Okay.
So that's okay. Yeah. And when the numbers shake you and plus the fees have gone up, right?
Yeah. It was an expensive show for a reality show. I mean, big cast too, and traveling everywhere for sure.
Yep. Yeah. All that combined.
Yeah. So, I mean, what are your thoughts then on Netflix getting into the game with 28 Days Haunted? I don't know if you've seen it. I personally loved it because it was a flaming dumpster train wreck.
Okay, it was good to watch a train wreck.
It was great to watch the train wreck. I don't know about the ghostly evidence. Was there any ghostly evidence? I know people were just like sniping a lot on each other, but
demons everywhere.
That can make a show.
Demons everywhere, right? Yeah.
Yeah, demons everywhere, and everyone backstabbing each other as always. It was more like a telenovela with a little bit of haunting with it.
I could see that. I mean, I was at a conference where Tom's a legendary producer. First of all, he made Captain Planet the cartoon, but then because he does voices, and then he went on to become one of the original founders of reality television. He made what's the Fishing Wars?
That's not programming.
Where they're fishing. I forget the. I don't know.
Is it like a fly fishing competition or something?
On fishing.
It's the tuna. It's the big catches.
Deadliest Catch. Yeah. Deadliest Catch. Yeah.
So Tom made that plus a zillion other shows. And at one conference, somebody raised their hand and said, "Hey, Tom, how many ghost shows do you have on air right now?" Tom's like, 11. And then he goes, "How many ghosts have you caught?" And he goes, "None." I mean, at one point it was just like you just mentioned Ghost Show, and they put it on air. Mm-hmm. So with that environment in reality television, things had to mature. So obviously they brought the telenovela, drama into it, I don't know how that rated. Actually, I don't know how much.
It was a top 10 show for like October when it came out. I think it
Okay.
came out late in October. But yeah, it went straight to the top 10 on.
Well, that tells you what the
Netflix.
audience really wants. It's just
Mhm.
to be
And
along for a
it's
journey.
Still in the top 10.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't see it in my top 10, but maybe it's anyway.
Like I said, you gotta, once you appreciate the train wreck,
Yeah.
you
You're
will
in.
not stop watching. And the other thing is, it wasn't like one crew. It was 3 sets in 3
Right.
haunts. 3
Mhm.
haunts you don't necessarily hear about that often. Like I didn't
Yep.
know any of these locations. So I'm always down for
That was
good
probably a
haunt
mandate,
porn.
by the way, to find new locations. That's probably.
Ah.
I can hear network execs saying we want all new locations. We've all
Yeah.
been to St. Augustine Lake. It's like, well, you missed out on the most haunted places, so that's why you got no evidence, right?
Which you
Just
did go to
saying.
St. Augustine. But yeah, that show was something to behold. But they still had their hook, where they had a couple of the ghost hunters that had been on TV before. Some of them had led series. Some of them are like a recurring, like the demonologist Jeremy something. He was at the place in North Carolina, and they stayed there for a full 28 days. So he had appeared most recently on Conjuring Kesha. Like I said, folks, when I say I watch everything, really, I mean it. He was in the debut episode of Conjuring Kesha at Brushy State Mountain. And then they had Chris, I can't remember, it's not Fleming. Oh no, it's Sean Astin, or Austin is his name. He is the psychic medium dude. He was on Ghost Loop and he appears on a lot of other shows. He was, I think, in the Denver house. So they had a couple of people that, if you watch the ghosty shows, but everyone else was new. No, you'd never seen them before. Oh, yeah, they had Shane Pittman from the Holzer Files too.
I had Sharon from Ghost Hunters season 5, 6, 7, 8,
Okay.
something like that. We developed a show called Cursed together. Curses are interesting in that they're very historic. I mean, every culture has a version of cursing, whether it be bone witching or the entire Nordic alphabet is a curse. Basically, if you write it backwards, that's the curse to you. Screw your neighbors. So it was an interesting show, and that was one that I always felt should have been picked up someplace as well. That was, and maybe we'll get on air. Maybe I've got a large audience that doesn't hear my pitches in television, and I invited quite a few of them to the feed tonight. So we'll see.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
We do have, there were a couple comments, like when you were going over the water aspect of you need water present for the paranormal, and let's see, Chandler says, paranormal makes sense if you're around water because water's necessary for life. It might make sense that it would be required as a medium for other things as well as life as we know it. And then
That's a good point.
Water conducts. My own thoughts
That's
were
true.
kind of, that would bring the moon into it because the moon, it influences the tidal flows and everything else, and crazy werewolf people on, certain nights too. But
There you go.
Okay, there we go. Anyway, that was
Cool.
what we
Well,
had. Mhm.
I do want to address that. If you are a paranormal, if you're into paranormal and you want to explore what I'm saying a little bit more, just fog up. If you're in some crazy place where there's something going on, just fog up a window and look at what's written in it. Actually, Jake, you should take this on as a practice because it'll mess with your mind. What you see in the windows, especially because there's just stuff communicated in water.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll check that one out. I mean, also water has weird properties. For one thing, when it becomes a solid, it expands. It floats within itself. It has all these properties that a lot of other elements.
I doubt if Dan Aykroyd's listening, but he would love that.
Right? Water has all sorts of different properties.
Oh yeah,
that we don't see in other elements.
And it's delicious. And I'm reminding
is.
everybody watching that you should be drinking water, more water.
That's right.
More water.
Even if it has a little bourbon in it.
Dang, is that where I screwed up?
Ooh.
Man, everything's messed
Frozen
up.
water and a little bourbon.
I've been doing water for the show. It's all gone.
So, Spencer, before we get into the whole role-playing game, what else do you have coming in from like a TV production? What might you be pitching?
I promise everybody a spooky story, at least
Okay.
in my promos. I got to tell you, there's a reason why you pursue things like this in life. And Jake, I'm sure you have something like this. Most adults tend to forget their childhood, but in ways, that allow them to be like, oh, sure, that was really a weird time. I experienced this. It was really strange. But as an adult, we tend to blow those off. As kids, they were very significant, right? Mm-hmm. So I was at a very young age, very attuned to, fear. The fact that we get goosebumps is like a leftover from, eons ago. Goosebumps are there to raise so that we look fiercer, and they're also protector for heat reasons. So the fact that we have them still is kind of interesting. So, we also had those events that happened to us as kids where the goosebumps get raised. But one significant thing happened to me, and I was 24 at the time. And my girlfriend at the time, I was working at E, Entertainment Television, and my girlfriend at the time she was just whimsical, and she took off and went to Prague to work for an American newspaper and not get paid very much. And I was like, great, because I was a rock and roller, man. My hair was down to my butt. Like I was like, great, get it, that's fine. But then she started calling me and telling me how miserable it was, and would I please come visit? And I had an affinity for her, so I agreed. So I went. She lined up a hotel in Prague, and so I went, and we checked in. And first of all, it was in January. It was like, I can't imagine what's going on right now in Ukraine because it was cold. When I say cold, I grew up in Ohio. Like it was so cold. And what she had booked was the price of, that we could afford, which was, as cheap as possible. And the hotel was basically an East Bloc, so a communist part, Czechoslovakia, right? So Czech Republic, Slovakia, right? Part of the communist era buildings that were there. And we checked out Prague as much as we could, went back to the hotel, and it was late night and into the early morning. It was probably like 3:30 in the morning, and we started having some very close time together. And during all of this, there was something that crossed the room. Now, the door was locked, and whatever this thing was, it crossed the room and it sat in the shadow. And I was on top, and for some reason I just felt cold, goosebumps again, and I looked and I saw what I saw, and she was staring right at it. And she goes, did you see that? And I was like, yeah. And we were so freaked out. Like we couldn't even get up because this thing was basically in the shadow of the little hallway that was blocking the door. So eventually we got a light on. And I'm telling you, it was 15 below zero. For us to go outside and never come back to that hotel room, it was like I'd rather be tortured than deal with that. Mm-hmm. And that's wow. Exactly what happened. And that changed my mind about everything. I mean, that thing was dark and malevolent. It meant to harm. I don't know what it was purpose was, but that was just the entity that swarmed through. I've had other encounters where it's like, this must be a deer spirit or something that I'm dealing with because it's nice and gentle, you know, this spirit means to guide me. This entity or whatever's happening is a positive thing happening here. I don't quite understand it, but it doesn't feel like it's here to murder me. This thing felt like it was there to murder me.
Wow.
And it's the only time I've really felt like I was in danger. But I'm telling you, I blocked that out of my mind for years. And finally, my girlfriend at the time called me back and said, "Hey, do you mind if I write I write an article on it?" She's a writer. I said, "No problem." It kind of got it refreshed. So that's really what kicked it off for me. And if you're not a believer in paranormal or aliens or whatever, I'll even say Bigfoot, because you talk to enough people who are earnest people with absolute integrity, and they tell you these stories time and time again. You can't not come to the conclusion that there's something going on, right?
Right.
Maybe that's our universe. It's chaotic by design. It's it's a universe that wants to kill you as soon as you're born. You know, we couldn't exist in space. We couldn't. The best thing about William Shatner is that he said, looking back on the Earth with his trip with Bezos out to this, it's the brightest spot is Earth. Like, this Earth is all we have. Like, the rest of space is dark and will kill you in a moment. Like, and so, you know, you really get that perspective from all that. And so that's what I carry into this journey of looking at, like, what is paranormal, what is supernatural, what's malevolent. Now I understand what Dan Aykroyd means by dark or malevolent energy. It is dark.
Scary.
And it's out there. It's out there. So,
go ahead, Wendy.
Oh, I was just going to say, did the malevolent entity, did it have any kind of specific form or anything like that?
very dark. It was almost as if it were shadow, but it did have some gleam within it. It was not like anything I've ever seen.
Okay.
Since.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not kidding you. Well below zero, I brought the improper stuff to wear. Never went back. It was like 4 a.m. We're out in the street. There's nowhere to go in Prague. Like, it's not like you have a Holiday Inn or something here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought Prague was a party place where probably they stayed open 24/7.
Well, there are places
I know
you
better
can
now.
go.
Yeah.
I may have visited in my youth. But
By the way, this is 94.
yeah.
So this is a while ago.
Okay.
This
Mhm.
yeah.
I've been to Prague since. You know, it's definitely changed, but that old communist block of it is just like a really. Hopefully, they've torn down all those buildings. I don't even know.
Yeah, I didn't. I went. When did I go? 2017, and I didn't see. You could see some of it, but it's mainly a completely renovated
Brand new city.
It's a brand new city. They kept the old buildings like that, and they've all been remodeled.
I mean, these weren't even architecturally pleasing. And when I say communist, it's like they threw them up just to house people. You know, so
Yeah. No, I went to Moscow, and they still have a lot of that.
yeah, it's like the projects, right? It's
Yeah, massive. It's like a Judge Dredd block war.
Yes. Yeah. Is that an RPG? They should have a Judge Dredd RPG.
I think there is a Judge. Well, segue. We got 8 minutes left. But we could talk RPGs now. But yeah, Judge Dredd. I know I gamed it once back in the 90s. There was an RPG for Judge Dredd.
Oh wow. That's cool.
Yeah, I forgot who made it. I think it was an Australian game. Well, isn't it Judge Dredd Australian?
I don't know where the property comes from. It's pretty. It came out of comic books. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if it was an EC comic book or something
Jake,
like that.
You know, a lot of my RPG friends who follow, they're a lot like they've made RPGs that you probably own. Like there are those, but there are a lot of people who are looking to like, man, I just made this RPG. Like I can't, and I'm like, wow, it's such a crowded space.
Yeah.
But recently we were just before this, we went live. You and I were talking about Morgborg. Yeah. Which is just the artwork is so much fun. Like,
that's the Swedish company. They also do. It's a complicated game. Gorgeous art, gorgeous world, Vassen.
Oh, I've never played.
Oh
it.
yeah, so Vaesen, that was based on a series of books, 3 books that covered Norse mythology.
Hmm.
And
How
so
cool.
they created a game out of it. It's obviously it's free league.
Is it accurate to the as far as you know, like to the
You know,
Nordic?
the books themselves, yes, but that they're not the ones that made the games.
Hmm.
So Free League is the.
I'm
They
just
also
asking.
do Tales from the Loop, that role playing game, if you know that one.
Okay. Well,
And-
it may be a good learning tool. That's you know, like.
oh
so-
yeah, for sure. It would be a good entry point into. So I don't know if you guys, I bring this up quite a bit because I'm 6 feet tall and blonde. I'm half Norwegian. So like I grew up. I grew up with a lot of the legends and lore. Yes,
Scottish.
oh yeah,
I'm
there's
Scottish.
an infusion. There's an infusion there. Danelaw and all that good stuff from back in the day. But yeah, it's good. They also came out with Mythic Britain, so you can learn all about the Selkies or Kelpies and all that stuff. So they've made
Love
really
it.
great universes, all set in Victorian era.
Love
So,
the Kelpies.
yeah, Kelpies and stuff like that. Yeah. My other half
Very
is
cool.
Welsh, so
Mm.
it was fun to hear about that stuff.
That's really cool.
It's kind of a complicated game for gameplay. But you're right.
Most of them are, especially if somebody doesn't understand the rules, and by somebody I mean like you plus another player.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
somebody has to know the rules.
Yeah.
Really
So I
well.
mean, what I like is Dungeons and Dragons is a really good entry drug for all these other games because it's pretty much if you get saving throws, initiative, combat type stuff. It's
Yeah.
just depending on the game you play. Because I'm a big fan of Chronicles of Darkness / World of Darkness. So this is like Vampire the Masquerade or Requiem, or Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Have you watched LA at Night, their series they did for Vampire?
No, I gotta check that out.
Yeah, I gotta check it out. Juliet Landau, she plays with us, and she's fantastic. What a great actress! She was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but she is one of the leads in LA by Night in the Vampire. She just shot Vampire magazine, the cover.
Oh, really? Okay, we'll check that out.
And her movie that came out last year won a ton of awards. Like I'm talking like 30.
Okay.
It's got Gary Sinise in it, and the dude that plays Hellboy, I'm spacing on his name.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. He was on the original Hellboy or the remake one?
The newer
Okay,
ones.
the guy who was on Stranger Things
Pat,
and Violent Night.
I forget what his name is. Anyway, very recognizable character. He played Thanos.
Oh, Josh Brolin.
Anyway.
Okay, maybe not.
I don't
But
think.
just wait. On the subject of Buffy,
Yeah.
Spencer has a tie into Buffy because Mrs. Spencer.
Well, I used to edit Buffy. So
you did? Hot damn.
yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have a long after show, people.
Okay. So I used to do a lot of marketing, so it's not that sexy, but I would get like the roughs, the dailies, and have to put them together and things like this to make promotional materials. So yeah, my wife walked into the edit trailer one day, and I'd done a lot of research on what I wanted in somebody, and she fit a lot of it, and so I chased her and her friend down after they left the bay and said, "Hey, you guys want to have sushi? We do it every Thursday." And I kind of made it up on the spot, and so they fell for that. And so we just kind of hit it off and took it from there. Yeah, she was 3 characters on Buffy. So she started out as Chanterelle, or it started out as Lily, then Chanterelle, which is a mushroom. It's really funny. Spike like tries to bite her, and
she was an undead wannabe.
She was like they were the cult, yeah.
Right.
And then she was the most memorable is probably Anne. That was her third name on the series. Anne. When Buffy goes to LA, she's the other girl.
College. She goes to college or something like that. Is it college?
No,
she ran away. She came back from the dad.
Yeah, she ran away and had to deal with, even though it was not in Sunnydale, she had to deal with crazy shit. So that was Julia. And then she went into the Angel series being the person that ran their teen shelter, which was constantly chaotic with beasts that Angel was killing. I didn't like that series as much, but Buffy was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Angel was not nearly as much fun as Buffy.
Here's another thing, Jake, you might not know this. Julia's also the bride of the Haunted Mansion at all the Disney parks.
Yeah. I actually saw that.
Oh, you
did?
Because I saw
I
her.
posted something.
And I was just like, just wait, Julia Lee, her maiden name.
Yep.
I'm just like, wait, she was. So I went over on IMDb and I read her bio there.
And you're like, hey, yeah, she's more known for that, to be honest, than the Buffy stuff. But Buffy
really?
fans,
I know her for Buffy.
like, yeah, well, at conventions, people will dress and drag and be her character. You know, like they love her. So Buffy was a great series.
It was.
Yeah,
I've got the RPG. And and all of its accessory. It didn't. It might have had like 3 or 4 years in the sun, but I did like the Buffy role playing game.
There's several board games out. That's another thing I like is board games. Julia's in all of them, so she has cards and.
Oh yeah, I've just been getting
fun.
into that when I picked up. I back a lot of Kickstarters.
Oh
so
yeah,
I've got H.H. Holmes' Murder House. I've got Skeptics, which is one where you're ghost hunters and you're trying to debunk the ghost before they kill you. Essentially.
Oh wow, sounds awesome.
It is.
Debunk them before they kill you. Yeah.
Oh, pandemic.
But about ghosts. I like it.
Yeah.
The great ones.
So, well, folks, we are getting to time. So, Spencer.
Hey.
If anyone wants to get a hold of you,
GM Macleods.
What you're up to. Okay.
Yeah, GM Macleods on Facebook. You can find RPG All Stars throughout the known universe on all the socials. Most of my email contacts are like if you go to YouTube RPG All Stars, you see the email contact. And of course, if you want to get to know Spencer, that's a little different because you got to coming through the GM Macleods route. GM Macleods is my stage name. Right? So the reason why is because there's Macleod Ale here in Van Nuys, California, and they're amazing. Please go buy their beer. They're struggling to keep the lights on a little bit after COVID. But Macleod Ale brews the best beer, and one of their weaker evenings was Wednesday nights, and we created game night. And eventually, at first, I was playing Risk, right? But it eventually became D&D because some people wanted to play. And so I sort of introduced it, and then people would say, how do I get in the game? And I'd say, Spencer Stander, and they'd be like, huh? And I would never get any messages because everybody would forget the name. And so I just go, it's Macleod Ale. I'm Game Master Macleods, GM Macleods on Facebook. And they'd be like, oh, so then they start, so that's how that came to be. And I just haven't, I don't know. At some point I might shake it, but I enjoy it somewhat.
It's attached, man.
Whatever.
It's
It's like Sting, right?
Yeah.
Sting for rock and roll. It's just the same. Yeah.
So I don't know what we got going on for next week. I know on the 28th we have an author on, but
Rick Galtieri.
Yep. And so, folks, because we are at time, Spencer, stick around for the after show. I got more time.
Yeah, you got it.
So.
Got it.
Wait,
we'll
Jake,
talk about Comic-Con.
Oh,
we just performed there twice.
Well, just wait. Do we want to keep going then? Can we go a little bit longer, folks?
Let's take it to the after show, man.
Sure.
Tune in, hear about LA Comic-Con, Gen Con. We'll talk about all this stuff.
You know what? We're starting the after show right now. We're just going to let it run.
Okay, there's the after show.
The after show is now on. Okay, so let's talk. What's going on with the Comic-Con then?
Yeah, man. Look, creativity leads you in any weird direction you can. So connected with LA Comic-Con, there was 144,000 attendance. It's not a small conference. Yeah, it's like huge. It might even rival San Diego. I hate to say it.
Yeah, I was going to say San Diego gets the press over the LA one.
Yeah. But certainly I was shocked at what was going on there. I mean, the booths and everything. But we actually had a panel on how to be a better role player, which I had a tremendous turnout as far as the talent. I got a CW star. I had a local gaming business owner, Donna Ricci from Geeky Tees in Burbank. They're really well known. They host a lot of the gameplay that you will see online. So Donna's been integral in all that. So she came, and it was CW people. Juliet Landau was supposed to come, but she's been suffering from vertigo. Didn't know if she could handle it. So we had a really cool panel, packed the house. Oh, Tori Hatcher, she's an influencer. I think she packed half the house. Chris. She is a cosplayer, and she's going to be in our next season of Star Wars.
Oh, nice.
Which we call This is RPG Star Wars. It's called Edge of the Empires, the game. And basically, we shot a season. It's in the can. We haven't launched it yet. We're shooting season 2 coming up. Tori is going to be part of it with another influencer. So that'll make 4 influencers on that show. And if we don't get better numbers by airing Star Wars with all these influencers, I'm just convinced it's tough to watch RPGs. So my saying is, like, we'll record an hour and a half. I'll edit it down to 20 minutes. Like, it's getting pretty baller tight with what we're doing. Whereas like Critical Role, just let it go for 5 hours and people love it and tune in. I just don't have the time. So I've always edited everything down. So that's what you'll find on RPG All Stars. The other Comic-Con event, which was such a blast. I've run a game show. I've run it for a couple of years now, and the prizes are extraordinary. People give you products, man, to get rid. They're just like, sure, here's $2,000 worth of stuff, and like I'll call multiple places and they'll give it to us.
They'll be like, remember, this is the brand name, this is the
Yes.
product, and this is where you can buy it.
That's right.
Those 3 things. Okay, have at it.
And we pimp that out, and I'll put your affiliate link under the video or whatever. Yeah, so we had a ton of prizes. One of my favorite manufacturers is Metallic Dice Games. If you're a dice collector, they're the
I got
bomb.
some of them. Yeah.
They were recently purchased.
What?
Yeah.
Who
by
bought
the
them?
guy, a guy on Shark Tank who invented Mensch on a Bench, which is the Jewish version of Elf on the Shelf, and is one of the most notable and successful Shark Tank purchases on the show.
Okay.
So he retired many years ago. It's crazy story. Got bored. His buddy said, "Hey, you don't like RPGs, but you like comics. Do you want this dice company?" And Neil said yes. So he bought it. And now they've changed the name to Fanroll. So if you're used to seeing Metallic Dice Games.
So in like all my ads, because I hit up a lot of RPG and I do a lot of Kickstarter, I get
You see Fanroll.
I see them quite a bit. And like D20, the online.
Oh yeah.
All the time.
Well, and if for those listening, if you don't know about this, something called D&D Beyond, which is something that I don't use, but it will catalog all the books, and you can access them and buy your sheets and characters and do all the stuff in there, which you can also do on paper for free. They were bought by Hasbro, which owns D&D, for $155 million 2 years ago. Wow.
Oh, hot damn.
So Roll20 is probably on its way, right, to rival it.
Yeah.
They make a virtual map. They store all sorts of art. They're a marketplace. As a GM, could sell my GMing abilities there. By the way, I am on Start Playing. If anybody wants to buy me as a GM, you can. I'm very expensive, but the reason is because I do production with it. So you can find me on startplaying.com if you want to get a game together. So I'm looking for a few people. It would take like 3 or 4 people maybe to get that going, but that would be super rad. So anyway, leading back to Comic-Con, we run this game show called Total Party Kill. Expect what it says. Everybody's going to be killed. So it's how the roles you're making and how you're being killed that will determine a winner in the end. And it's sort of randomly done with a deck of cards. So it's a really clever game show format that Hasbro and Matthew Lillard, the Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Well, Stu from Scream.
There you go. Yes. Better yet. I was talking to him like, I don't know, 4 weeks ago, and I told him about Total Party Kill. He's like, "Oh, dude, you can't don't tell me anymore." He's a really cool guy, by the way. They have a company that makes a lot of D&D products, or Pathfinder products, actually. It's another RPG.
Yeah, well, because let's talk about that real quick, because you're a Pathfinder guy.
I am more so. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the folks that don't know, what's the big difference between Pathfinder and D&D?
Well, if you love small business America, you'll love Pathfinder over D&D. And here's why. So there was a period where D&D basically got nuked and was off the map, never to come back. So what happened was Gary Gygax and they made Dungeons and Dragons, and it hit something called the Satanic Panic. And if you don't know that, I'll just look at it because it's fantastic.
That's when I was playing.
The whole thing is fantastic. And basically sold TSR, which was the original company, to Wizards of the Coast, which was Peter Atkinson's company.
Up here in Seattle.
Yeah, in Seattle. He's still up there.
Yeah,
Peter's a
Renton.
great guy. Wonderful. Just, I can't tell you how great. And so he's got a great series called World of Chaldea. If you want to support a really cool guy, World of Chaldea. That's a game he's been running since the 70s, by the way. They just make it into live action. It's great. So anyway, Peter bought it, and it was basically at death's door, and Hasbro eventually bought it from him, but put it out of business. And the people that were working on it said, hey, I'd still like to have a job. And I think Lisa, the president of Paizo, said, hey, well, it's open source. Let's just keep doing what we're doing and just put it under this other company who can spare a couple paychecks and come do this. And that's how Paizo got started. And they've been growing, leaps and bounds. I have one of their products called Starfinder. I'm developing that for television series with CAA, a larger agency down here, and attempting to attach major showrunners and actors. That's why I was talking to Matthew Lillard, by the way. Was for that. And so anyway, that's Paizo. And they're just a terrific group of very supportive people. We're in their community spotlight constantly, even though everything we do is home brewed. They don't mind that. Most people play to get noticed, will play the APs or the adventure packs or paths to get noticed. They're not like that with us. So we have a great relationship with Paizo and deeply appreciate them. So buy Paizo over D&D for sure, all the way. Because Hasbro doesn't give a shit about you. Like, honestly, I mean, I don't have bad things to say about D&D. I think it's been oversimplified. 3.5 was really their best version. And that's what Pathfinder 1 is basically 3.5. So now there's Pathfinder 2, D&D 1 is coming out. They've been through D&D Next, 4, and 5 edition, and now they're coming out with 1. So they're just trying to earn money. And, when you renew, you sell more books, you sell more items.
Yeah, the new rules, and you have to, like, all the favorite campaigns will be redone. But I have a stack of, I'm just going to go off.
Is that what you were
background.
grabbing?
Yeah, I got a stack. I got a lot more, but this is just what was handy. So I'll just show you. You'll look to my right, and you'll see a stack real quick. Just my room's a mess. So
my monitor's over here. So
okay. So I got a stack. We'll just hold these up here in a minute. So wait, let me go back to my.
Hang on, what's this? This is worth investigating.
Just wait. So this is just what was in hand. This is what was in hand, people. Okay. So I'll start with, like I said, I'm a Chronicles of Darkness guy. So I got Hunter, 2nd edition. They simplified the different. I like this is from Onyx Path. That kind of goes back and forth. There's Onyx Path, and then there was the original, or the Icelandic company bought them for the gaming thing. Anyway,
Nord Games.
Yeah, so this went back. So Hunter, same cover, but they did change up the stuff inside. I would say the art's not as good this time around. But with Hunter, you play a normal human that goes around killing the monsters.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
See, so I encourage my characters to play humans because it's more relatable. Mm-hmm. I know it's a fantasy setting, but man, they're nailing it with that. Was saying, hey, you're a human.
Yeah, you still get some powers in here. I would say it's not as pew 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 hack slash as the original Hunter from World of Darkness. We're getting deep nerd here, people. Yeah, that one is far more
Shadowrunning,
supernatural than this supernatural TV show than this game. Cool. This is another good one that I like. This is They Came from Beyond the Grave. They also have They Came from Beyond the Sea, which is which I have. It's in a different realm, but it's based on 50s B movies. This one is 70s gore exploitation. So this is the Suspiria set and Amityville horror type stuff. The 70s really gonzo.
That's cool.
Yeah, this one is a lot of fun. Now this should be a TV show or a movie series.
Oh, Jake's let me in on secrets.
This is, and it's been around a while. Deadlands, where you're in the Wild West with it. But they also have a newer one, contemporary, for East Texas State University, and you're in Pine Box or Pinewood, Texas, at the university.
Cool.
That's the modern setting. But this, I got to tell you, I'm not a Wild West fan, but I totally dig this.
We used to play Boot Hill back in the day. That was
Okay.
all.
Yeah.
West.
There's
That was
another
original.
one. Yeah, there's another one I got on Kickstarter. Should be arriving any day now for Holler, which is
I love your collector of this stuff.
Appalachian. Yeah,
Yeah.
Appalachian role playing
Holler.
with a Holler. Yeah.
Give me a holler.
Yeah.
On the Holler.
Well, this is Holler as in like the backwoods
The
valley
place.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
a
yeah,
holler.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the role playing game, tabletop board game, Skeptics.
I feel like if you guys need sponsors, that some of these board, I feel like, hey, Skeptics, this is my favorite.
Yeah. So here's another one that I really like. I got a whole series of them. This is an Israeli company. It's City of Mist.
Wait, are these shrink wrapped?
Yeah, I haven't opened them yet. Like I said, I've been collecting them. So I've got some I
good.
play and some. But so this is City of Mist. It's noir superhero.
And if you're watching, saying Jake's got a lot of these, in his defense, learning the rule systems of multiple games is not an easy task. It literally takes a weekend to sort of really digest. So I get why some of them wouldn't be boxed. Yeah.
Yeah. So City of the Mist is another one that's a tougher one to play. Here's another board game. I got this from a Kickstarter. This is for all you true crime fans. This is H.H. Holmes' Murder Castle.
Oh,
So
wow.
You're a victim and you're trying to survive the murder castle. And it's 3 floors. It's a stacked game.
Oh, cool. So it's like cardboard
That'd be
cutout. You stack it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, hey, Jake, this is one that I got recently. Death at a
Oh,
Dive Bar.
yeah. I got
You probably get the ads for this. I have to do a video for these guys.
okay.
So maybe I can get you to play with me virtually.
Yeah. So I got their like intro. This one from Hunt a Killer, the Mystic Board one with the ghost talking to you.
Yep.
Yeah. This is your gateway drug to Hunt a
To
Killer.
yeah. But this is legitimately like if you're a junior sleuth, like you're gonna love this. Like you love mystery.
Hunt a Killer.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another one that's really fun. I should be getting any day now. That's Braywood Manor or something. It's like Murder She Wrote. So you're a retiree and your nephew gets murdered and you try to solve the case and everything. So I've got that one coming.
That's
and
cool.
this, Spencer, is the one you're probably...
Jake, do you like escape rooms too?
I do escape rooms. I do escape rooms. Here's one I know you're
something
interested
we all
in.
have
I
in
just
common.
got it. I got Blade Runner. I backed it.
Oh yeah.
So I just got it.
I'm getting it to review it on the channel. I can't wait. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah.
I love the dystopian future.
Yeah.
stuff.
So what's really nice about it is if you were a Kickstarter, you get the quick start rules and games. So that's this. You get the quick start, which really helps because like with Call of Cthulhu, which is one of my favorite games.
Gee, many Christmas.
Oh, and I love Octung Cthulhu.
Yeah, but
I love
man,
Octung.
Octung.
Yeah, Octung. That's a little more pew pew. Shoot 'em up. So, but Call of Cthulhu, dude,
a lot of rules.
That's a lot of rules.
Big system. I have probably 40 of their books.
Yeah,
and I haven't read any of them.
So I've got like a shit ton in another closet and down here that I can't get to. But I will say of all my history of role-playing games, and I've been playing them since the 80s, my favorite is Marvel Superheroes.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Yeah, definitely.
So when that came out, Dungeons and Dragons went away because I was a comic book collector.
Yeah. I think I played an alternate version. It was called Champions.
Oh yeah, no, I got Champions too. That one just came out. Yeah, so you might like City of Mist. It's a bit more noir. I mean, it's dark. It's definitely like more in the boys style and Powers. Really, if you remember Powers, it's more in that vein.
One of the things we were considering is rolling Marvel. Marvel came out with their own internal version.
Oh, I just got that one too. It's only on PDF right now. Yeah.
Yeah, we were thinking about. Tom ordered all the minis, so that made it attractive. I love the sets. The gateway to D&D for me, because I wasn't with it the whole time. Like I played as a 14-year-old, and then girls and bands picked up, and I was like, I'm out of here. So I missed the whole ADD, the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. And it was Pathfinder and 3.5 that brought me back in. And the reason why was because the minis, dude, and the artwork have gotten freaking out of control. Yeah. You guys... I mean, I probably have 15 grand worth of minis. Jake, talk about the minis. I'm gonna bring a couple show and tell.
Okay.
Oh, so by the way, this red dragon right here, you see it?
Sort of. It's kind of gray. It's blurred out, but
yeah. Okay, that red dragon's worth $1,000.
Oh shit! Not that.
Yep.
Yeah.
They only made a limited number, and that was it.
Okay. Yeah. So, folks, with minis, if you're doing your role playing game, Warhammer is kind of known for this too, as well. Warhammer uses miniatures as well. So, you can imagine you set out the map with all the rooms and it's a grid, and you can move along that and do combat with your minis in front of it. So, Warhammer's notorious for that. If you do any of the Battletech games are notorious for this stuff as well. It's almost like Battleship, except you're actually moving. Anyway, it's a lot of fun.
It came out of wargaming.
Yeah, Warhammer. I said Warhammer was like the big one.
And prior to all that stuff, it was a tactical war game basically, and they just set it in like fantasy medieval settings. It's great. Mm-hmm. So just to share a couple, you probably remember this guy on a couple of covers, and a little guy's feet are like hanging out of him. You're like, oh, that's terrifying. So they make all these really awesome like miniatures. Like if you're arachnophobic, some people are really uncomfortable with these things.
Yeah.
But then I just got this one in. Should we do an unboxing?
Oh, a reveal? So unbox.
So Miniatures Market sent me a ton of minis. Thank you, Miniatures Market. You can find, by the way, any board game that you need at Miniatures Market. But they're now developing they've sold them for a long time, but they're developing their miniatures. So this is a Pathfinder Battles. This is an adult Cloud Dragon. And I literally have not unboxed this. Just got here. So
I love a cloud. So they're the ones that, do they breathe lightning or do they breathe a poisonous or acidic gas?
I've never had an encounter because I didn't have the mini to throw out in the board.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So now, I think cloud might be the poison gas. Or acidic gas.
It's just a cool expansion of what you would typically think of a dragon.
Okay. Is it powder blue with dark blue highlights on it?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, they put enough tape on this thing. Sorry.
Yeah, no shit. They don't want you to steal it.
Yeah. I love the boxing.
Ooh, look at that. It looks nice on the side.
Yeah, they give you like a nice setting inside, right?
I do these unboxings with my ghost hunting gadgets.
Ooh, look at that. You got that whole background.
Look at
that's
that.
really
It's almost Iceland.
Yeah, and then you got this cool guy in here. And it's also taped.
Of course.
Right into me. Anyway.
They don't want you to open that.
Dude, he is badass.
Okay. Oh, he's nice.
Look at that.
She.
Very muscular dragon. And something like this, I think they sell them for probably like $40-$50. But they only make a number of these, so they do go up in value. Like it's like people are collecting these things.
Yeah,
like crazy.
I got some Funko Pops up here that with different.
I did too. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually do the Universal Monsters. That's my favorite one.
And if you're a miniature, like you got your half elf rogue, your miniature's about this big compared to this guy. So when he comes out on the, onto the field, you're like, oh my god, like he's tactically so much bigger. How am I going to deal with this? I love the wings. Kind of like reminds me of my cat in the morning sometimes. So yeah, now you can hashtag unboxing, Jake. Jake's an SEO expert.
The Google's going to find everything.
Yeah, I love it. Super fun, you guys. Like I said, if you want to find me, RPG All Stars on YouTube, it's not that hard. Just RPG All Stars, not Mario Kart. Mario Kart is also RPG All Stars. We're not that All Star.
Okay.
You'll know it right away. But all of my information on how to get a hold of me is there. And please, subscribe. We gotta tell and subscribe to your Facebook. Like, how do people subscribe to Facebook? By the way, I never go live. On
you
Facebook.
Just follow it. You like it and follow it, and then
follow the page, or
you follow the page. Yeah, so you can like it, but if you follow it, you get the updates. Liking means you don't necessarily get every post.
Okay, so it's ideal on Facebook for somebody to just click the follow link on your page.
Yeah.
So Mystic Moon Cafe. Like and follow.
Yeah, like and follow. So that, like I said, liking a page doesn't mean you always get the updates. Follow means you usually always get the updates.
Yeah, we have RPG All Stars changed its name from our original name, which is Loaded Dice Rollers, because we were drinking a lot and we were rolling dice. It made sense at the time. So now we're RPG All Stars on Facebook, and you could join the community of about 30,000 on there. I haven't been super active. I kind of feel bad about that. We've probably been deteriorating in numbers a little bit, but I used to post like a funny thing like every day.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, this is years later, and I'm just I'm busy cutting content. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole thing is with the Facebook, the Meta, just like all of the social platforms, they've pretty much gotten rid of organic reach. So like, you're not a real person. You should pay to reach the people you spend all that time trying to grow.
And by the way, I did spend a lot of money on Facebook early on. And all I can tell you is if you're starting new on Facebook and trying to grow that, I say don't spend the money.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I want to say I spent about $6,000.
Hot damn.
Yeah, on Facebook ads. Getting that audience. So you think, wow, you're hyper targeting D&D or Gen Con or something on Facebook. Total fail, in my opinion. Well, I mean, I'm sorry if you follow me through that. I'm sorry, but for me, the experiment.
There's so many fake profiles out there. You don't really know who's clicking to sign up. Mike,
because you're an expert in this. My question is Facebook know this? And like they say, hey, spend $150 on this. Your click will be 6 cents per click, and you will gain, I don't know, 20 followers maybe.
Yeah, it's a vanity metric.
That for sure is. For sure it is.
So it's not, they don't care.
So don't waste your money promoting with Facebook ads is basically what I'm saying.
If you've got a real product to sell,
then do it. Yeah.
But if you just want, let me grow followers and stuff,
fair enough.
They may not be actual authentic people. I mean, a lot of them are, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of people that just click like because something looks cool. And then that's what they go for. And you think, well, it's only 6 cents, but stuff adds up.
It adds up. It's 600,000 clicks adds up to $6,000, right?
So for the longest time, the only places nowadays, it's changed recently. YouTube, you can still get some decent organic reach because of the subscription and especially the notify. That is legit. Yep. You will get notified. But Pinterest for the long time had a lot of organic reach. They cut that back for business pages. And then the other one was Tumblr, but who's been on Tumblr since they got rid of porn? Let's be real.
Yeah. I mean, I am on Discord, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram.
Twitter's another one that's dubious with its organic reach.
Yeah.
Twitter. Plus nowadays, everyone's going to Mastodon. So,
and to be honest, my following on Twitter sucks because I just literally just post secondary content. I don't care about it. Like it just, link will show up.
You're just filling up space.
Yeah.
So if someone needs to find you, they can.
Do you think it's still true? I met with one of the top PR kickstarting companies, and they were saying it's a 5-to-1 spend on Facebook. So if you want $5, you have to spend $1 to get that 5.
Yeah, so that's a $4 ROAS. So that's pretty standard in the advertising
world. Okay.
Yeah, that's.
And you think that that's going to real people, not bots?
Well, I mean, if someone is buying, then it's not a bot.
Okay, yeah.
If it's a follow, it's a like, it could be a bot.
So we need products, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you need a physical product that will sell because what happens is they don't buy on Twitter; they have to go over to your website to buy. Now, if it's a CPC cost to whatever, I'd be worried about it. But a lot of the digital advertising companies now, we're getting real deep in nerdery here.
Yeah. Well, listen, a lot of people have their dreams of doing this kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's great to have the knowledge.
So a lot are now going cost per sale. So they the platform only gets a commission if products sell. So there's more incentive to make sure.
Heck yeah.
Because even if it's a lead, cost per lead, you can still get bots to do that. Generally speaking, bots just operate on the click itself and nothing else. And they usually filter that stuff out.
And what do you suppose is happening at TikTok? I mean, I post something. If we went live right now, I'd have 800 people watching. Who the hell are those people?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big platform, and when you think about the scale of it and stuff, 800's like nothing. It depends on how niche.
But I go live on Instagram, and I'll have like 3 people watching, like literally.
Well, it's because they'll get the notification, but they have to click to watch. And so this is if the scale of your followers. Who I think is a really great business person when it comes to these things is watch interviews with Aaron Mahnke of the Lore podcast, because he is very real about all that stuff. It's like, don't monetize yourself and do all this merch stuff, because you're really only going to get 1% of all of your listeners that actually buy this stuff. Yeah. And he stages everything based on very realistic audience growth numbers. So I think if you want tips on when it comes to digital,
I'm gonna check him out.
Stuff, check out Aaron's.
Yeah,
though he's very podcast first. He's very podcast first, but you still have it on other platforms. But
Howard Owen and Propagate made Lore for Netflix, so I should know more about it anyway.
Yeah.
Converted it for Netflix.
Yeah,
that's really cool. That's good. That's good insight. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention too, because my friend is watching, and introduced me to a Reiki master who built a ghost box.
I mean, anyone can build a ghost box. What kind of radio she used?
No, it wasn't to hear ghosts. It was to capture them and send them away.
Oh.
So basically a Reiki master whose house burnt down in Malibu. Really strange story.
Because there was malevolent spirits that were pissed about getting sent beyond the veil.
How this originally happened was this Jeff guy, this Reiki master, had an attachment to him. And so he went to another Reiki master who said, oh, just take this box. And he took the box and he activated it and went to sleep. And he had this really crazy fucking thing happen where it was like a lightning bolt, a shred out of his back. And this, whatever had been doping him down, this is the guy whose house burnt down. Like all the bad shit that was happening to him stopped all of a sudden. So his conclusion was, and whatever that thing was that was attached to him was jettisoned by the ghost box.
Okay. I mean, all I can say is watch Ghost Asylum. You'll see the Tennessee Wraith Chaser with their little,
they got a box.
They got a box. It's a vacuum.
Might be the same.
Suck it up.
I'm
joking. It's not that bad, but they got a ghost box. They got a ghost trap.
That's dramatic. This one makes no noise. It just,
Does it make noise? I don't think it makes
noise.
One
of my favorite things to do, by the way, in ghost hunts is we're so silly. Our eyes really suck. Like the way human eyes were developed is terrible, like in evolution. And also our freaking ears suck, right? So our senses do what they do, but really as far as like animals go, we really suck. And then if you throw us in the multiverse of like, hey, how great could an alien's hearing be? Or like how great could their eyesight be? Holy shit, there's stuff that we just don't see in here. So one of my favorite things to do with paranormal is I have a friend that he builds studios. Like he built John Mayer's studio and Nikki Sixx, and like he does all these studios. Or what? He has these altimeters that he can put on floorboards, and he can see like a matrix version of up to 500,000 K and down to 0 hertz. And then we take that signal when we see something going through it, right? Because that way he sees the bass trap isn't working right or whatever, and it's acoustics that we can't hear. But if you slow it down enough, like 300,000 hertz frequency, if you slow it down to like 20,000, or if you're good at hearing, maybe 18,000, you could start to hear what that sounds like. That is one of my favorite things that I do that nobody else does in ghost hunting. Just because I have access to the gear.
You had that. You showed that off, and one of like your friend's house is haunted.
Yeah, it's so great, and it's like seeing the Matrix, and you're like, wow, all this crazy. This is a noisy freaking planet.
Yeah, no, the Earth gives off sound. I was studying ultrasonics, which is used to communicate with submarines. It's a huge, slow-moving wave. By the way,
like
the Earth.
Whale.
Yeah, the Earth gives off its
constantly
own sound.
Yeah.
So but I don't know if you can hear and stuff.
The dogs. You gotta take them out.
I gotta take care of the kids.
After hours with Moonlight Cafe, Mystic Moon Cafe,
Mystic Moon Cafe. Thank you, Spencer. Yeah. I'm gonna ping you. I don't know if you're still around tonight and stuff. It's only 9:30 our Pacific time. I'll hit you up.
I'm gonna hop on Fortnite. That's gonna be my.
Well, I'm gonna call you and we're gonna talk some more shit. Okay.
Get on my Xbox. Let's do it.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for tuning in. We love everybody.
Folks. Thank you all.
Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Good night.
Thanks for being on, Spencer.
Hey, you got it, brother. That was fun.
There once was a ship that put to sea, and the name of the ship was the Billy O.T. The winds blew harder, bowed it down below, my bully boys blow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. She'd not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Da 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 da.
What will we do with a drunken sailor? What will we do with a drunken sailor? What will we do with a drunken sailor? Early in the morning, put him in the brig until he's sober. Put him in the brig until he's sober. Put him in the brig until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey, up she rises. Way hey, up she rises. Way hey,